It's kind of wild when you think about it that the entire time we've known most characters in One Piece, we don't really see them in silhouette for too long before their introduction. Like we saw Big Mom when she was, Luffy was on Fishman Island. We saw the sort of silhouette of her when she was, lying down. She had the big scary look to her. We saw, when Garp was talking about Lin Lin and Kaido and the other two emperors that, we saw silhouettes of them and Kaido looks nothing like his silhouette. That's a very common joke in One Piece, is how the silhouette of a character looks nothing like who we get. For example, Loki looks like this derpy little blob with three little crown dots on his head, and Kaido looks like a man in his 40s instead of the beast that we saw before us. So with that, let's get into the actual chapter itself. Hello, Internet! I am the hero of Julios, once again with another One Piece chapter summary. This week's chapter is chapter 1179, Nerona Imu Descends. Yep, he's here, and believe it or not, we're going to see what he looks like. The artwork this week, though, starts off with Ace and Yamato and little Otama, and the three of them are helping some baby boars just explore the mountain. They're going on a little field trip, so that's pretty cute. I'm still holding out for my bingo card that a new series of chapters starts. We get a new cover story. We're almost halfway through the year and haven't had that yet, or I should say we're a quarter through the year and we haven't had that yet. So yeah, gonna keep holding out for that. We get about 3 to 4 chapters a month depending on breaks, so we're still likely to get one, but I'm starting to worry it's gonna be really late in the year before we get it. Now, the actual chapter itself starts off with the 5 elders. And it's been a little bit since we've seen them, but remember, last chapter we saw Imu flat out tell them, hey, I'm going to be out of the house for a bit. 4 of the 5 emperors are all kind of worried. They're all kind of panicking. And Garling is walking into the room as the 4 of them are talking. They say, Lord Imu, this is unprecedented. We have admirals we could send. We could we could put Navy blockades around Elbaf, or we could, maybe we'll even sound a buster call. We'll do something else, Lord Imu. You don't have to go down there. And Imu tells them, let me just make sure this was, yes. He tells them it's too late for that. It is preordained. This must occur. As Imu is thinking about everything that has led up to today. Rox saying that he'll be back, the Mermaid Princess being born, Loki getting his fruit, Luffy getting his fruit, Harold, Shanks stealing the Gum Gum fruit. It is all starting to pile on top of itself, and on top of it all, Imu desires Vivi. So for whatever reason is going on here, Imu knows that he is past the point he can avoid, and it's time for him to step in. While the elders are talking Imu down, trying to get him to not do this, Garling walks in. He's the 5th elder now, and he seems really chill about what's going on here. He even tells them, hey guys, if it's what Lord Imu wants to do, who are we to question that? And his transponder snail rings, and he goes, hang on, guys. I know we're talking to Lord Imu, but I have to take this call. Hey, York, what's up? York is extremely upset. She was promised a life of luxury, and she is out of food. She is tired, and this is not very Celestial Dragon-y, as she says. This doesn't feel like a Celestial Dragon's life. And he tells her, now, York, I warned you that the Holy Land was under attack while we got here. And you know what would really help turn the tide of battle? You building that mother flame for me. So how about you get on that and consider this punishment for what Vegapunk did? Because remember, technically, you are Vegapunk. So everything he did is still your fault. So however we want to, put this on your bill, this is what's happening. And then he just kind of hangs up on her. Garling seems unfazed at what Imu is about to do. And the 5 elders seem extremely shaken about it. Sorry, the 4 elders seem extremely shaken. I'm starting to wonder if I even want to consider Garling one of the 5 elders, because I'm not really sure. There's a couple ways this could be. Either he doesn't understand what's going down because he hasn't been an elder that long, they haven't filled him in. The second possibility is he knows and just doesn't care, which seems kind of weird. He's been a loyal God's Knight for a very long time, and Imu is really, you know, the ruler of the world. You should probably take him a little more seriously. The third option is that Garling has his own plans, and maybe he's hoping that if something bad happens to Lord Imu, somebody else can become ruler of the world. Maybe even him. Remember, Garling, unlike the other elders, is one of the people that Oda put on that big spread of the basically 12 most important characters in the series. That one of those people is going to claim the One Piece and change the world. By Oda, or, you know, unless that entire color... Well, no, it wasn't a color spread, but it was an entire 2-page spread. Unless that was a red herring, Garling is one of the most important characters in the series, like it or don't. But ignoring the pleas from the other 4 of the 5 elders, Imu opens up his little teleportation circle and disappears. When he does so, we cut to Pangaea Castle from the outside, and there is a rumbling. And then we see part of the red line, and if you zoom in on it, there's this rectangle there. And I don't know if it's just the quality of my computer, or if it's the way Oda drew it, but I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking at here. It seems like it's some kind of rectangle, like maybe even a doorway, like there's a hole in the red line, or is the red line breaking apart? Like, was this like an initial crack to warn us what's happening? But the elders make it very clear that something's going to happen to Pangaea Castle, to the Holy Land itself, if Imu leaves, and something is going to happen to Imu if Imu descends to the lower realm, as they call it. So we know that whatever dark pacts Im's abilities are, they come at a price. Even Imu said it himself when, when Herald got destroyed. They said, oh, well, Lord Imu, let's just send more knights down there to deal with the problem. And Imu said, no, don't do that, because I can't afford to lose another one of you guys. There's a price to making that pact, even for Mu. My brother actually made a good suggestion that perhaps Imu has sort of like a Horcrux deal going on here, if any of you have read Harry Potter, that every time he makes a new God's Knight, a new Holy Knight, or a new Elder, he has to split a part of himself in order to do it. So he's only got so many charges of that, and he's got to make them count, which is why it is such a rigorous process, and there's only 13 people that can have this contract. Not sure if that includes the 5 elders or does not include the 5 elders, but we'll probably learn that later on. So as Imu disappears and the red line goes through some weird changes, we cut back to Elbaf, where things are looking up. Things are pretty calm right now. We got Gerd. She's holding Sommers by one foot, and by the head he's torn in half because she takes him up to Haruden and she says, "Hey, Captain, I found one of the demons that was ruining our island, and watch this." And you hear the sound of Sommers screaming, which is a good sound, We zoom in to see that she is holding him, by the foot and the head. And normally, under normal circumstances, those parts of the body should be dangling because that's how gravity works. But instead, they're sort of lifting towards each other. And Gerd compares it to a magnet. And she's like, it's pretty freaky. Sommers, obviously upset. He swears vengeance against Gerd specifically. He says, "Your name is Gerd, right? That's what the others were calling you. I will remember this, and you will pay for this." Interesting that he calls her out specifically by name, but I'll get to that in a moment. Meanwhile, Goldberg comes up next to her, and he says, "Captain, you should probably take a look at this as well," as he holds up a little beating heart covered in steel. And Zoro and Haruden, they both take a look at it, and Zoro goes, huh. And he looks at Sommers, and he looks back at the heart. Hey, if I destroy this, what happens to you? And Sommers just has this wonderful look of terror on his face. I'm sorry. This guy, major sadist, horrible person, does terrible things, laughs at the misery of others. His misery can't do anything but put a smile on my face. You know what? I'm half tempted to reapply the Sommers is defeated on my bingo card. For now, I'll leave it blank because he technically is still here. He's technically a potential threat if something happens. But for now, he's teetering. He's teetering on that. Meanwhile, the other threat that was a threat, Killingham, is also currently in pieces. His head, his torso, and I think his legs are dangling from a tree. Sanji's just got him hung up like Christmas decorations. And Sanji's just kind of staring at him. And Killingham says, they called you Sanji, right? I'm going to remember that. I'll remember your name, and I will haunt you, and I will hunt you down, and I will make you pay for this, Sanji. I've declared war on you specifically, Sanji. Well, as he's yelling at Sanji, Sanji's taking a look at him, and he tells him, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't remember your name. So, like I said, circling back to it, Killingham and Sommers both call out Sanji and Gerd specifically by name. I don't know if that's something to do with a Holy Knight ability or like a lock-on feature, or if this is just how Celestial Dragons work, that they remember someone's name, they declare war on that person, and they're just focused on that person's demise until either their demise or the demise of their target. I don't know, maybe I'm reading way too deep into it, but it seems odd that those two specifically said, your name is X, I will remember this X, and I will, hunt you down kind of thing. So as that's going on, Luffy and Loki are currently on the hunt for food for Luffy. They get to the school because the school obviously has food prepared for the lunches for the children, so Loki, knowing how this works, he kind of heads on in there with Luffy, and the two of them are looking around, and Loki's like, this is crazy. Everything's frozen solid. And Lilith is nearby, obviously. She tells them, well, technically not everything's frozen. We just removed all the heat energy from it. So, yeah, Lilith, that's what frozen is deficient of heat energy. But whatever, as Luffy and Loki are munching on the food, Loki does note that the food has no taste because it's frozen. They're basically just eating out of the freezer. I have a brother who he always eats frozen waffles. My parents don't get it. I kind of get it. I've tried a frozen waffle. They're not too bad, so give it a go if you're interested. But yeah, when food is frozen, it does lose a bit of its taste. Although it is sweet of Luffy, as he's munching on this, he's like, we have to get some of this to Brook and Usopp. They're both injured. He's more worried about his friends than he is himself, which is very Luffy. Loki even reminds him, hey, first things first, we gotta heal you back up because we don't know if there's still enemies around. And yeah, good thing too, because as they're eating, as Sanji is dealing with Killingham, as Zoro is dealing with Sommers, Nami, Jinbei, and the injured Brook and Usopp and Frankie's there, they notice up in the sky the weather is changing. And it's not the weather. Turns out it's much worse than the weather. A giant circle appears above Elbaf. Now, mind you, giant is a relative term in the land of Elbaf, because to a giant is normal. This circle makes the castle of Harold look like a Lego set. That's a pretty big summoning circle. And it begins, the outer rim of it begins to rain down this dark fire that sets a ring around the main town. And within that ring, we start to see shadows cast over the trees and over the buildings, and demonic faces start to appear on the buildings and vegetation, and there's this dark tone almost like a reverse echo of the Drums of Liberation. I did see a YouTube short where someone called it the Drums of Oppression, which has been a joke we've seen about like GARP and about other, people who work for the world government, but I think Drums of Oppression is a pretty good term here, so I'm probably going to use it myself until we get an actual term for it. But as this dark tune resonates and the world starts to shift into this demonic form, a single blast of Conqueror's Haki comes crashing into the castle. Loki and Luffy feel it from a distance. Zoro notes that it is in fact Conqueror's Haki. We see actually Colin and the other children just get knocked out. So this is Joy Boy level of like slamming across the island. Now, I will say one thing to take of note here. When Joy Boy's Haki came out of a knot and blasted an entire island, it sent the 5 elders crying back to Imu. When Imu touched down and sent a blast of Conqueror's Haki out, it knocked out children. I'm not saying Imu's weak, but I do want you to keep in mind that Imu is weaker than Joy Boy. Because remember, again, when Joy Boy's Haki went out, Imu panicked. So that's just something to keep in mind, that yes, it did burst across the island, but it's not equal to Joy Boy. It's still terrifying. And speaking of terrifying, Imu touches down, and we see the summoning circle that's in the castle that Harold made all those years ago. And there he is, in the center, our little blobby man. And Imu lands in his menacing stance as he has taken in the summoning around him and he has prepared himself for the battle ahead, and he immediately coughs up blood. This is a good sign. This is a good sign for us because that means Imu, the act of teleporting injured him. Which I'm actually going to mark that on my thing, that Imu did in fact take damage, because coughing up blood counts as taking damage, even if it's self-inflicted. That being said, if Oda has to nerf Imu by, leaving the Holy Land weakens him, how terrifying will he be when Luffy actually has to fight him on his home soil? That's right, I'm calling it now. Imu is the final fight that we'll see on Elbaf. Imu is not fighting his final battle here on Elbaf. He will fight Luffy and Loki. He will show them just how terrifying he is. And then, when he starts coughing up blood, again, he will be like, okay, time's up. I showed you two who's boss. Fall in line. Don't make me come back down here again. I'm teleporting away because I want to, not because I have to. And then he's going to teleport away. But with this display of power, this burst of Haki, the giants all turn their attention to the castle, and there they see at the top of one of its pillars a figure. That's right, we finally know what Imu looks like. He is white hair, dark skin, black wings. Is Imu a Lunarian? Hang on, I'm going to look at the panel one more time. I just want to double check. Okay, so in the panel, we actually see Imu's body. We don't see the wings. But when he lands in his big blobby form, we do see a pair of wings burst out from it. So I think Imu is actually Lunarian, which is crazy when you think about it, because the Celestial Dragons hunted the Lunarians to extinction. So what if Imu isn't one of the original... Well, no, because Oda gave him a title card. We'll get to that. So around Imu, we see the dark clouds that indicate an awakened zone user. But even further than that, we see this like dark ribbon that's floating around him with hundreds of eyes, like biblically accurate angel kind of vibe. He's got big horns. Like I said, he's got the dark skin, the white hair, the wings. He has got this robe on. There are these intricate symbols going up his hand as he holds it up to his face, because we see his whole body, but then we see a zoom in on his face. He's got horns like an ancient giant. Maybe... I mean, again, we don't know anything about Imu's power, so what if Imu was once a human, but he has amalgamized himself with the best traits of every race? And that's why he's so big on keeping all the races separated, is so that he has all the bonuses and none of them can mix and create a perfect being like him. That's another possibility. Man, I'm running through a lot of ideas right now. But anyways, I want to get to the most important part. We finally get Emu's title card. King of the World, Saint Nerona Emu. Power, Devil's Fruit. Now this could mean anything. This could mean that Emu himself is the source of devil fruits, which would upset me. I'll get to that in a moment. The other possibility is that Emu's power is all the devil fruit's abilities, which makes sense given what we know of how devil fruits come into being. And then finally, the other possibility is that Emu's power is the power of devil fruits that are not in circulation. So for example, after Ace, was taken down, Emu had the power of the flame fruit, but as soon as Sabo ate it, somebody cut off the gas and Emu isn't able to shoot fire anymore. That's the least likely of the three possibilities in my books. The second most likely is that Emu has the power of all devil fruits, which that one kind of falls apart too, because then it raises the question of what is Emu actually afraid of, since he has the power of the revive fruit. He also has the power of the soul fruit. He also has the power of the gum fruit, aka the Nika fruit. Like, if Emu's devil fruit is all the devil fruits, then he's way too powerful and can't be defeated. Which leaves me with the third possibility that pops into my head, is that Emu is the source of devil fruits, which, I'm going to be honest, I kind of hope he isn't, because I really like the idea that devil fruits come into existence based on the wishes of mankind, the desire, the willpower, that because enough people wanted something strongly enough, the devil fruit that makes it possible comes into being. That is so much cooler than just, oh, this one guy has the power to make magic fruits and he just launched them into the world. So I'm really hoping it's not that. What I'm hoping is it's the second possibility I listed, where Emu's devil fruit is the power of all devil fruits. I know I just got done saying that that's a little too overpowered, but that's exactly my point. If the devil fruits come into existence based on the willpower and desires of mankind, wouldn't it stand to make sense that enough people would wish for the power to have all the powers? And then whoever's at the top ate that fruit because they wanted to have all the powers? So what's interesting about it is the way Oda worded it. It's the same way he did it with the five elders, where he doesn't say this guy ate the fruit, which gives him all the devil fruit powers. It says power, devil's fruit. Just like with the five elders, where he said, power Itsumade, power, sandworm, power, etc. So the most likely scenario, as of right now, for what I can tell, Emu is the source of all devil fruits. I don't like that. What I'm hoping it is that Emu has the power of devil fruits, or power over devil fruits. I think that would be a much more diverse set of abilities. Actually, yeah, if his power was just the power over devil fruits, then we might be looking at a situation similar to, Hawkmoth. I don't know if people watching this video have seen Miraculous Ladybug, but there's a villain called Hawkmoth, and his superpower is literally just giving superpowers. Although I guess that doesn't make sense, because Emu seems to have a whole bunch of powers himself going on, so whatever. I've got so many questions, and none of them are answered, and there's a break next week, so none of them are going to be answered. But hey, the bright side is we actually have Emu's face. It has been years since we first met Emu, and now we finally have a face, and we finally know the name of his power, and nothing makes sense, because that's just Oda for ya. Because the only thing Oda loves more than silhouettes is cutting off sentences. We don't know what it is about Buccaneers that are special. The five elders were like, oh, Emu, if you go down to the surface world, you'll... Oh, Emu, if you leave Pangea Castle, will... So we're cutting off sentences. We're getting rid of silhouettes, though. We seem to be out of silhouettes. Aside from a few Holy Knights left, I can't think of anyone, well, Joy Boy himself. So, aside from Joy Boy, I can't think of any major characters that actually are still silhouetted. But hey, that'll be my question this week. Let me know in the comments below. Are there any characters that are still silhouetted that we still need to know more about? Or do you have an opinion on Eames' powers? What do you think Emu is capable of? We got 2 whole weeks to ponder it. I'm going to start watching everybody else's videos and figure out what their opinions are. But as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.